This is the organism that causes cholera. It's a tiny thing. You can't see it. Vibrio cholera. There's a little tail on it. You ingest it through water or contaminated food. It goes through your gut and starts to grow. It produces a poison, a toxin, that disrupts the normal metabolism of the cells within your intestine. Now, normally, your body produces about 5 liters of fluid every day. Your body makes fluid. Your pancreatic juices, the gastric juices, it goes into your gut. But do you poop out 5 liters, 5 quarts of fluid every day? No, not unless you're sick. You poop out maybe 200 cc's of fluid in your stool. So what happens to that fluid? Your body absorbs it. Your body drinks water, it pees out some. The rest of that water goes into your blood, and it goes into your gut to digest your food, and then it gets resorbed in your colon. 5 liters a day. These little buddies here create a toxin that disrupts the normal metabolism of the cells in your colon, which absorbs the water, and the cells no longer can do that. So instead of absorbing water, they're throwing out water from your body. That's the problem with cholera. Now, these bugs don't attack your blood, they don't attack your nervous system, they don't attack your liver. All they do is attack your intestinal cells. And if you can weather that and live through that, you're okay. After 2 or 3 days, you're alive. Unfortunately, here's the problem. Four gallons, about 4 quarts, 4 liters. That's about the average blood volume of you. Sprite, free from Safeway because I bought $5 chicken. That's the average blood volume of me. 70 kilos. This is the average blood volume of a 5-year-old child. That's all the blood in his body. You give him cholera, and he'll diarrhea this out in 2 hours. He'll diarrhea out his entire blood volume in an hour. So what happens to the blood supply? It contracts. He doesn't have enough volume in his blood. His heart cannot pump. His blood is thick. It can't go through. It can't get oxygen to the cells. Open it up. It's real Sprite. Okay, open it up. Twist. Now, this is real Sprite. Sorry, let it fall. How many want a Sprite? I'm thirsty. Okay, here's one. Okay, here. Give that to me. Pass it around. I have 5 cups. Can I have this back? Here's my blood volume. The onset of cholera can take place from 12 to 24 hours after you get inoculated with the organisms. Within 3 to 4 hours after symptoms start, you can start this diarrhea. And within 6 hours, you can lose enough fluid from your gut through this diarrhea that you will die. You can die within 4 to 10 hours of starting symptoms from cholera if you're not treated. And even if you are treated by being given intravenous fluids, your death rate is still 30%. 30% of people, even treated in a modern method of intravenous fluids, will die. 30% without this treatment. 50 to 80% will die if you're old and frail and starving. You have an 80% chance of dying from cholera. And we're going to see what this epidemic was. Now, this is in Rwanda in 1994. 40,000 people died in a month. What happened in 1994 in Rwanda? Besides this cholera epidemic, what happened? There was a massacre. The Tutus massacred, the Hutus were massacred by what was the other tribe? Tutsis. With machetes, with knives, with clubs. They killed hundreds of thousands of their countrymen just because they were of a different tribe. The chaos that ensued and the breakdown in society of civil law, of policing, the inability of the country to police itself and prevent murder, neighbor against neighbor, created a disruption in the entire structure of the society such that people who contracted cholera could not go to hospitals. They died untreated of this diarrhea. They died with their clothes on, soiled in diarrheal stool called rice water. Water with flecks of mucus made it white. They had no recourse. They could not be treated because there was no one to treat them. They died in the streets. I've never seen anything like this in my career because where I go, it's not like this. They're not massacring each other. I avoid that because I don't want to die. I see it through pictures. And I encourage you to investigate this part of the world. It's not pretty, but it's a reality, guys. And this is my intent to bring you out of the box. Because you know very well that you can live your life in this box with blinders on. Live comfortably. Live your life, do your job. But I hope that some of you, maybe you don't even know it now. Maybe it'll strike you 10 years from now. I hope some of you will think of the worldview and direct your lives into helping people like this who don't have our privileges. Because there's a world out there that needs you. I can't imagine what it'd be like to die in a mass death like this without treatment, without a name, thrown into a pit with lye thrown on you to help you dissolve your body and prevent the stench, covered with dirt and never seen again. And here are people being treated in an area around a hospital, but there's no beds for them. They're lying in a field, buried in a ditch. Those lucky to be in a hospital are put in beds like this, cholera beds, because you're constantly pooping out diarrhea. You can't do it into a sheet and change your sheet. You can't change your clothes every time you poop to keep it clean like you would at your home. You can't just run to the toilet because as soon as you get up, you're diarrhea. You have no control over your bowels. It's something it's hard for me to, as a physician, to imagine. Harder for you as kids who've never seen this. Poverty, lack of sanitation, lack of medical care. Hard for you to imagine. A cholera bed. See that hole in that plastic sheet? That's where people will lie. They put a bucket into that. When they have a diarrheal stool, it goes right into the bucket. They change the bucket. They keep doing this until the patient recovers and is sent on. Say after me. Mahala. Say after me. Mahala.
Mahala.
Nabis.
Nabis.
Mahala Nabis.
Mahala Nabis.
Dalit.
Dalit.
Mahala Nabis.
Mahala Nabis.
Dalit. Mahala Nabis.
Dalit. Mahala Nabis.
Do you know who Alexander Fleming was? Who? Who's Alexander Fleming? He discovered penicillin. You know that. Well, actually, Alexander Fleming really didn't discover penicillin. He came back, noticed that his plates had some mold on it that stopped the growth of bacteria, Staphylococcus, and said, we have to investigate this. But it turned out it wasn't him. It was his lab assistant who said, hey, doc, look at this. Fleming got the credit. And Fleming actually didn't do anything after that for 10 years. He tried to grow it. Fleming is credited with discovering penicillin, but he couldn't grow it. And he couldn't develop anything from it. 10 years later, two guys, Foley and Chain in Oxford, tried to address this. And tried to grow this penicillin mold and to get it. And they weren't very successful. So they went to the US, Peoria, Illinois, and they tried, this was during the beginnings of World War II. And they were successful in growing this penicillin, but a nurse who went out to a market and got a moldy cantaloupe was the one who brought back to the lab, discovered a new strain of penicillin which was 200 times more potent than the one that Fleming developed. And through a long process of many other people working, they developed penicillin, which saved thousands of lives during World War II. Fleming got the credit. Later on, these two other guys, Chain and Foldy, shared the Nobel Prize with him. But pretty much, he was a lucky guy. Dalip Mahalanobis, I learned that 2 days ago. Mahalanobis was a doctor in Bangladesh in 1971. And in 1971, there was a huge epidemic of cholera. There was a typhoon, flood, and something else happened in 1971 in Bangladesh. What was that? Now, I'm a big history fan now, because history is what ties everything together. It ties our everyday life together, because you are going to be making history someday. I don't think any of you will become Obamas, but I mean, it's possible. He made history. But Bangladesh made history in 1971 because around that time, it was becoming independent from Pakistan. Tremendous political upheaval, slaughter in the street. Sunni. What's the other branch of the Muslim? Shia, fighting each other. Hindu, fighting Sunni, fighting the Muslims, killing each other through this war of independence. And here we're two Muslim countries now, West Pakistan and East Pakistan. Bangladesh didn't exist then. East Pakistan wanted to separate. Muslims killing Muslims. Cholera, breakdown in society, loss of sanitation, structure. Disease follows political and economic disruption. So, Mahalanobis used the previous 6 years of some research. Where's that bottle of Sprite? And out of desperation, had to treat hundreds of cholera victims. Not with IVs, because they were running out of IVs. So the treatment for cholera now is salt. Oh, do I have to clean that up, Josh? So the treatment devised by Mahalanobis was 8 teaspoons of sugar in water and 1 teaspoon of salt. And patients would drink it. And what did it do? It replenished the loss of fluid, salt, and sugar. And it saved cholera victims. The mortality rate went from 30% to 3% with oral rehydration therapy, ORT. In 1971, he pioneered the use in large clinical settings and saved hundreds of lives in Bangladesh by the use of this. It had been researched by other people, but he was the guy who had the balls to go and treat it with this method. And now I consider him as great a scientist as Alexander Fleming was when he discovered penicillin. Now, here's where it all started. Where's that? India, right here, the Bay of Bengal. This is where cholera started in the mangroves, living off the crustaceans, the crabs, the shrimp. And it stayed dormant there, maybe affecting some of the villagers who got sick. It wasn't until 1817 when something happened. The something that happened was British colonialism. Britain was now invading India, taking their resources, enslaving Asia. Well, that's not what you are going to learn in school. You're learning, as I did. British went into Asia, colonized the countries there, and left them with a legal system and a judge system that helped them later when they became independent. But what I'm learning now is the colonial empires of the world created tremendous social disruption, killing, subjugating, exploiting the colonial peoples around the world. Africa, China, Indonesia, Laos, Vietnam. It's this political environment which fascinates me. So cholera, because of the British colonial empire and the railways they established in India, the trade that they established between India and Europe, and this corridor of trade in Southeast Asia, taking products to other colonial empires in Asia, started the cholera epidemics, which is all in your outlines. That's what started it in 1817. It sat there because nobody was trading, nobody was moving. But now you've got trains and transport and British troops taking cholera across Asia into the Middle East. Just like Genghis Khan, Silk Route, the trade spread the plague throughout Central Asia and Europe. Fascinating. So as British started cholera in the Bay of Bengal, you'll see how the subsequent 6 major cholera epidemics, all on your sheet, occurred throughout the early 1800s to 1923. I'm going to let you read that. But pretty much each episode of these epidemics killed millions of people. I do want to talk about New York in 1923, which is where cholera, maybe it was 1932, first appeared in the U.S. during the second pandemic. Now, what I learned fascinating, we think that the United States was a paradigm of sanitation, of engineering, of scientific thought. Baloney. In New York, sanitation was horrendous. People would defecate into their pots, throw it into their backyards. And dead animals, dogs, cats, pigs, the offal from food, restaurants, cooking, would be thrown into their backyards. The streets would pile up with horse dung, manure. People would throw their feces and urine into the streets. It was a smelly, foul city in 1932. Boston, the same. Major cities in the U.S. were like this, as they were in Europe. And this was the setting for the cholera epidemic in New York in the 1930s. Now, in 1954, England was suffering a large cholera epidemic. And this is another fascinating event. Do you know who Cropper was in England? What did he invent? The water toilet. That's why we call it a crop. Because John Cropper invented the flush toilet in England. Now this was good and bad. So it isolated the stool and waste into a container and split out of the house. But the bad thing was, it took the water, stool, waste, and flushed it into the Thames River in London. And the Thames River in 1954 was a cesspool of disease, of dead animals, of waste, of fecal material that had filled the river so much that the regular flow of water through the Thames was dammed. The stench was so overpowering that in 1966, Parliament agreed to allow this engineer to build a sewer system to take the sewer away from the Thames, which ended the